The Corvani delegation stood frozen as their child ambassador collapsed, blue blood pooling beneath her small form. Queen Elena watched from her throne as her guards raised plasma rifles, the ornate chamber filling with the electric hum of charging weapons. The alien child's breathing came in shallow gasps, her forearms twitching against the marble floor. "Stand down," Elena commanded softly, but her royal guard captain Marcus Chen was already moving. He holstered his weapon and knelt beside the fallen child, ignoring the bristling weapons of both species aimed at his unprotected back. The Corvani elder ambassador's mandibles clicked rapidly. "You will not touch the sacred offspring," Marcus ignored him. He pulled off his ceremonial gloves and pressed gentle fingers to the child's neck, finding a weak pulse beneath translucent skin. Her large, dark eyes fluttered open, filled with fear and confusion. "It's okay," Marcus whispered, his voice carrying the same tone Elena had heard him use with wounded soldiers. "You're safe." The child's translator failed to process his words, but something in his expression made her stop trembling. She reached up with one small hand, touching the scar that ran from his temple to his jaw. "Battle mark," she said in broken standard, her voice like wind chimes. "Yes," Marcus replied, "but I survived, just like you will." Elena watched her most trusted guard cradle a species humanity had never encountered before today. The Corvani had arrived with 3 warships, demanding immediate audience for a matter of galactic importance. Their child ambassador carried genetic memories of every Corvani who had ever lived, making her simultaneously the most valuable and vulnerable being in their society. The elder ambassador stepped forward, his 6 legs creating an intricate pattern of threat. "Release her immediately. Your primitive hands contaminate sacred flesh." Marcus looked up, his brown eyes steady. "She's going into shock. Her blood pressure is dropping and her core temperature is falling. She needs help." "Your Majesty," the elder ambassador turned to Elena. "This breach of protocol demands immediate consequences. We came seeking alliance, but this violation—" "What exactly is the violation?" Elena asked, rising from her throne. Her own guards tensed, but she raised a hand for stillness. "My guard is preventing your child from dying." The chamber fell silent, except for the child's labored breathing. Elena had ruled the human republic for 12 years, but she had never seen anything like the expression on Marcus's face as he monitored the alien child's vital signs with the same intensity he once reserved for protecting Elena's life. "The offspring carries the memories of our ancestors. If she dies during first contact with your species, those memories will record humanity as architects of Corvani destruction. Our entire race will know you as enemies until time ends." Elena felt the weight of interstellar war settling on her shoulders. One child's death could doom both species to eternal conflict. But, as she watched Marcus adjust the child's position to help her breathing, she realized something else was happening. "What's your name?" Marcus asked the child softly. "Zira," she whispered. "I remember, grandmother, mother, all of them afraid of humans." "What do you remember about humans?" Zira's eyes focused on his face with startling intelligence. "Big, loud, angry, always fighting." Marcus smiled, and Elena saw something shift in the child's expression. "Some of us fight," he said, "but some of us protect, some of us heal." The elder ambassador's mandibles clattered with obvious distress. "She must not form positive memories of your species. The genetic record will be corrupt. Our people will never trust the ancient memories again." Elena understood. This wasn't just about first contact. This was about rewriting the foundation of an entire civilization's understanding of reality. The child's memories would become part of every future Corvani, shaping how they perceived humanity for generations. Marcus continued speaking to Zira in low, soothing tones. Her breathing steadied, and color returned to her translucent cheeks. She sat up slowly, never taking her eyes off his face. "Why do you help?" she asked. "Because you need help," Marcus replied simply. The child tilted her head, processing this concept. In her genetic memories, she carried thousands of years of Corvani experience, but apparently nothing had prepared her for simple human compassion without expectation of reward. Elena made her decision. She walked down from her throne and knelt beside Marcus and the child. The Corvani elder ambassador made a sound of pure shock. "Zira," Elena said gently, "I am the queen of all humans. Would you like to know what I remember about my people?" The child nodded, her 4 hands now resting calmly in her lap. "I remember that we have fought terrible wars," Elena said. "I remember that we have made mistakes, but I also remember that when someone falls, we help them stand. When someone is afraid, we try to comfort them. When someone is lost, we help them find their way home." Zira looked between Elena and Marcus, her ancient memories processing this new information. "The other mothers in my mind say humans are dangerous." "We can be," Elena admitted, "but we can also be kind." The room held its breath as the child who would shape the future of 2 civilizations began forming memories that would echo through generations of Corvani consciousness. Marcus stood slowly and extended his hand to help Zira to her feet. After a moment's hesitation, she took it. The simple gesture sent ripples through the elder ambassador's stance, his rigid posture collapsing slightly. "Your Majesty," he said quietly, "you have just changed everything." Elena knew he was right, but she also knew the real change had begun the moment Marcus chose compassion over protocol. The elder ambassador's 6 legs shifted into what Elena recognized as a ceremonial stance. The child's memories will carry this interaction forward through all generations of Corvani. What happens in the next moments will determine whether humanity is recorded as friend or enemy in our genetic archive. Elena felt the massive responsibility settling over the chamber. Every word, every gesture would echo through Corvani history, but Zira had already chosen to trust Marcus, and that trust was creating new pathways in ancient memory patterns. "Your Majesty," Marcus said quietly, "she's still weak. She needs medical attention." The elder ambassador's mandibles clicked rapidly. "Impossible. No alien technology may touch the sacred offspring. The risk of contamination? Then she might die," Marcus stated flatly. "Better death than corruption of the genetic archive." Elena watched Marcus's expression harden. She had seen that look before, when enemy forces threatened civilians under his protection. But instead of anger, he chose a different path. "Zira," he said, crouching to her eye level, "tell me about the pain." The child placed one small hand on her chest. "Burning, like ice fire. The memories are confused, fighting each other." Elena realized what was happening. The child's ancient genetic memories were conflicting with her direct experience of human kindness, creating a biological crisis that could kill her. "The old memories say humans hurt," Zira continued, her voice growing weaker. "But you helped. Why do the memories lie?" The elder ambassador's entire body trembled. "The memories do not lie. They are absolute truth, passed down through sacred bloodlines." "But I felt his kindness," Zira whispered. "I saw her wisdom. The old mothers in my mind are screaming, but my heart knows better." Elena understood the full scope of the crisis. The child wasn't just sick. She was experiencing the breakdown of her species' entire worldview. Her genetic memories couldn't reconcile ancient fears with present reality. Marcus looked up at Elena, and she saw her own thoughts reflected in his eyes. They couldn't save Zira's life without fundamentally altering Corvani society. But they couldn't preserve Corvani tradition without letting an innocent child die. "There might be another way," Elena said slowly. She turned to the elder ambassador. "What if the memories aren't wrong, but incomplete?" "Impossible. The genetic archive contains perfect records of Corvani encounters with humans," Elena continued. "But until today, when have our species actually met?" The elder ambassador fell silent, his mandibles stopping their constant clicking. "The memories your child carries are of someone else," Elena said. "Another species that resembled humans. Your ancestors never met us." Zira lifted her head, hope brightening her dark eyes. The old mothers could be remembering wrong humans. "Check your deepest archives," Elena challenged the elder ambassador. "Find the earliest memory of human contact. Examine it closely. I believe you'll find the beings your ancestors encountered were taller, with different facial structure, different mannerisms." The elder ambassador closed his eyes, accessing genetic memories through biological processes Elena couldn't begin to understand. Long minutes passed while Zira's breathing grew increasingly labored. Finally, the elder ambassador opened his eyes, and Elena saw confusion in their depths. The earliest memory is unclear. The beings were humanoid, but not human, Elena finished. Your people encountered a different species centuries ago, long before humanity reached the stars. That's why Zira's memories are conflicting with reality. Marcus adjusted his position to better support the weakening child. The question is whether you'll let the mistake of ancient memory kill her or allow new truth to heal her. The elder ambassador stared at Zira, his entire worldview cracking. If the genetic archives are wrong about humans, what else might they be wrong about? Everything, Zira whispered. Or nothing. Only way to know is to let new memories grow beside old ones. Elena saw the moment of decision in the elder ambassador's posture. His rigid stance softened, and his mandibles began a different rhythm, one that sounded almost like a lullaby. Sacred offspring, he said formally. I grant you permission to form new genetic memories based on direct experience rather than ancestral knowledge. The change in Zira was immediate. Her breathing eased, color returned to her skin, and she sat up straighter. The conflict between old memories and new experience resolved itself as her genetic system accepted the possibility of updating ancient archives. Thank you, she said to Marcus, then looked up at Elena. Your guard has gentle hands. My memories will carry that forward. All future Corvani will know that humans can choose kindness. Marcus helped her stand, and Elena was struck by how natural their interaction looked. Two beings from different worlds, finding common ground in simple compassion. Your Majesty, the elder ambassador said, his tone entirely changed. We came seeking alliance against a mutual threat. Our original purpose has not changed, but our understanding of humanity has transformed completely. What threat? Elena asked, though part of her already suspected. The Devourers have returned to this galaxy. Our scouts report they will reach Corvani space within solar cycles. We sought human alliance because our genetic memories indicated you were a warrior species capable of defending yourselves. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. The Devourers were legend, an ancient race that consumed entire civilizations before vanishing into dark space. But if they were real, and if they were returning, how long do we have? She asked. 2 standard years, perhaps less. Elena looked at Marcus, still steadying Zira with one protective hand. In trying to save one alien child, they had potentially saved 2 entire species from eternal conflict, but now they face something far worse than diplomatic tension. Then we have work to do, Elena said. Zira, your new memories will need to include more than human kindness. They'll need to remember how we face impossible odds together. The child nodded solemnly, understanding that her genetic archive would carry the story of whatever came next. Elena turned back to her throne, her mind already racing through military preparations and alliance negotiations, but she carried with her the image of Marcus kneeling beside a frightened child, choosing compassion over protocol in a moment that changed the course of galactic history. The war councils that followed would be brutal and complex, but they would be built on the foundation of trust created in one moment of simple human decency. That might be enough to face what was coming. It had to be enough. The war rooms of Earth's Central Command buzzed with activity as holographic star maps displayed the Devourer approach routes. Elena stood at the center of controlled chaos, but her attention kept drifting to the smaller conference room where Marcus sat with Zira, teaching her human tactical concepts while she shared Corvani battle memories. Your Majesty, Admiral Chen, Marcus's older brother, approached with grim updates. The outer colonies are evacuating, but we can't move everyone in time. Titan Station alone has 3 million civilians. Elena nodded, studying the tactical displays. The Devourers moved through space like a plague, consuming every form of life they encountered. According to Corvani genetic memories, they had devastated 13 known civilizations before vanishing into the void 3,000 years ago. The Corvani fleet will arrive in 6 days, Admiral Chen continued, but their combat doctrine is completely different from ours. Elder Ambassador Theron insists their genetic memories contain perfect battle strategies, but those strategies failed against the Devourers before, Elena finished. That's why the Corvani original homeworld is a lifeless husk. Through the reinforced glass, Elena watched Zira place her small hands on a tactical projector. Her genetic memories allowed her to visualize three-dimensional battle formations that appeared in the hologram like ghostly ship movements. Marcus leaned forward, studying the alien formations with professional interest. These patterns assume the enemy will maintain predictable approach vectors, he observed. All enemies are predictable, Zira replied, with the confidence of inherited knowledge. The ancestor memories show their weaknesses, but what if the enemy adapts? What if they learn from previous encounters? Elena saw confusion flicker across Zira's features. Her genetic archive contained perfect records of Devourer tactics from 3 millennia ago, but Marcus was suggesting those tactics might have evolved. The memories are perfect, Zira insisted, but her voice carried less certainty than before. Marcus pulled up human combat records, displaying the evolution of warfare from ancient sword battles to modern space combat. We used to fight in straight lines with muskets and bayonets. If an enemy from that era faced us today, they'd be destroyed because they couldn't adapt to new realities. Elena watched the child's worldview shift again as she processed the concept that perfect memories might become imperfect guides. The genetic archive that had shaped Corvani society for millennia was being challenged by human tactical flexibility. Your Majesty, her personal aide approached quietly. The Corvani fleet has sent new intelligence. The Devourers aren't following their historical approach patterns. Elena felt ice form in her stomach. Show me. The main tactical display shifted to show long-range sensor readings. Instead of the massive, slow-moving formations described in Corvani memories, the Devourers were advancing in small, fast groups that constantly changed formation and speed. They've evolved, Elena said quietly. 3,000 years of adaptation. In the conference room, Zira gasped as she accessed deeper genetic memories, searching for explanations that didn't exist. This is wrong, she whispered. They should move like the ancestor memories show. Why are they different? Marcus didn't answer immediately. Instead, he called up historical data about human military evolution, showing how tactics, technology, and strategy had transformed over much shorter time frames. Because they learned, he said finally, just like we learned, just like your people learned. The difference is that your genetic memories preserved what worked before, while the Devourers kept adapting to what works now. Elena entered the conference room as Zira began accessing more traumatic memories, the actual destruction of the original Corvani homeworld. The child's small frame shuddered as ancestral pain flowed through her genetic archive. They came like storms, Zira whispered, her voice carrying the terror of beings who died 3 millennia ago. Nothing stopped them. Every strategy failed. Every defense crumbled. They consumed everything. But some Corvani survived, Elena pointed out gently. Your people escaped and built new worlds. That means someone found a way to resist them. The escape ships, Zira said, accessing deeper memories. Small groups. Fast ships. They scattered in all directions, too small for the Devourers to bother hunting. Elena and Marcus exchanged glances. Survival through dispersion, rather than direct confrontation, Marcus said. But that won't work this time. We have billions of people on established worlds. We can't just scatter. Elena studied the tactical displays with new understanding. The Corvani had survived through flight, but humanity would have to survive through fighting. Two completely different approaches to the same threat. Zira, Elena said carefully. Are there memories of any species that actually defeated the Devourers? The child closed her eyes, diving deep into genetic archives that spanned millions of years of Corvani history. When she opened them again, they held a glimmer of hope. The architects, she whispered, during the second Great Consumption. They didn't fight the Devourers directly. They changed him. Changed how? Marcus leaned forward. The memories are fragmented. But the architects found a way to disrupt the Devourer collective consciousness, made them fight each other instead of consuming others. Elena felt excitement building. Do the memories show how they did it? Zira's expression fell. The architect homeworld was consumed before they could share their methods. Only fragments remain in the genetic archive, preserved by Corvani observers who witnessed the battle from distant space. Then we'll have to figure it out ourselves, Elena said firmly. But at least we know it's possible. Admiral Chen's voice crackled through the comm system. Your Majesty, urgent update. The Devourer advance formations have accelerated. New estimated arrival time, 18 standard days. Elena felt the timeline crushing down around them. 18 days to decode ancient fragments, integrate human and Corvani tactics, and develop a strategy that had never been successfully implemented. Marcus stood, his expression shifting into the focused calm Elena recognized from countless military briefings. We need to think differently about this, he said. The Corvani approach preserves perfect knowledge of what was. The human approach adapts to what is. Maybe we need to combine both. How? Elena asked. Zira's genetic memories provide the intelligence archive. What the Devourers were, how previous species fought them, what worked and what failed. Human tactical doctrine provides the adaptability, how to modify those strategies for current realities. Elena saw the potential immediately. A hybrid command structure. Corvani memory keepers working directly with human field commanders. More than that, Marcus continued, his eyes bright with possibility. If Zira can access memories of multiple species that fought the Devourers, we can analyze thousands of different tactical approaches simultaneously. Zira stood slowly, her young face grave with responsibility. The genetic archive is dangerous to access too deeply. The memories of consumed species carry their death agonies. Too much exposure can break a mind. But you'll do it anyway, Elena said, recognizing the determination in the child's posture. For both our peoples, Zira agreed. But I'll need help maintaining psychological stability while accessing trauma memories. Marcus knelt beside her chair. What kind of help? An anchor, Zira said simply. Someone whose presence reminds me that the deaths I'll experience are past, not present. Someone I trust absolutely. Elena watched her most trusted guard consider the enormous responsibility. Anchoring a genetic memory keeper through traumatic historical access would require him to remain connected to Zira's consciousness throughout the process, sharing both the knowledge gained and the psychological trauma experienced. I'll do it, Marcus said without hesitation. Marcus? Elena began, but he shook his head. This is what I swore to protect, he said. Not just you, not just humanity, but everything we value. If this gives us a chance to win, then the risk is worth taking. Elena knew he was right, but the thought of losing her most trusted friend to alien memory trauma made her chest tighten. Still, they needed those memories to have any hope of victory. How soon can you begin? She asked. Zira and Marcus looked at each other, and Elena saw understanding pass between them. The bond they had formed over the past few days would become something deeper and more dangerous than friendship. They would share memories of species death and cosmic horror, trusting each other to maintain sanity through the experience. Now, they said in unison. Elena activated the command center's full recording protocols. Whatever they discovered in the next few hours would shape humanity's survival strategy. She just hoped both Marcus and Zira would still be themselves when it ended. The memory link chamber hummed with bioneural interfaces as technicians prepared the experimental connection between human and Corvani consciousness. Elena watched through reinforced glass as Marcus settled into the chair beside Zira, their hands touching the crystalline interface that would merge their awareness. Beginning preliminary connection, Dr. Sarah Kim announced from the control booth. The human Corvani research team had worked tirelessly to adapt their technologies, creating the first true interspecies neural link in galactic history. Zira closed her eyes, her small form tense with concentration. I can feel your mind, she said to Marcus. It's warm, steady, like standing near a fire on a cold night. I can sense the genetic archive, Marcus replied, his voice taking on an odd, distant quality. Millions of voices, all speaking at once. How do you sort through them? Practice, Zira said with a sad smile, and necessity. Beginning deep archive access now, searching for architect combat records. Elena watched their vitals on multiple monitors as Zira's consciousness dove into racial memories spanning millions of years. Marcus's neural patterns shifted to match hers, providing the psychological anchor she needed to navigate traumatic death memories without losing herself to ancient grief. "Found something," Zira whispered. The architects called them hunger mines. They discovered that devourer consciousness is linked across space through quantum-entangled neural networks. Marcus's training allowed him to process tactical implications even while experiencing alien memories. A hive mind connected across interstellar distances. That explains their coordination. "More than coordination," Zira continued, her voice beginning to carry harmonics that weren't entirely her own. "The individual devourer bodies are just extensions of a single consciousness, like fingers on a hand. They don't think independently." Helena leaned forward. If the devourers shared consciousness, they could potentially be manipulated or disrupted. "What did the architects do with this information?" Zira's expression suddenly twisted with pain. "I'm accessing direct death memories. The architect homeworld. The screaming. Marcus's grip on her hand tightened, his voice cutting through rising panic. "You're safe. You're here. Now, with me." The screaming is memory, not reality. Zira's breathing steadied, but tears streamed down her face. They built consciousness disruptor arrays, devices that could inject false signals into the Devourer quantum link network, made them perceive threats that didn't exist, allies as enemies. "Did it work?" Elena asked. Partially. The Devourers began attacking each other instead of consuming worlds. But the disruption was temporary. The network adapted, developed immunity to the false signals. Marcus accessed human military history through the shared link, comparing parallel scenarios, like electronic warfare countermeasures. They found the frequency, then learned to filter it out. "Yes," Zira said, her voice now blending with ancestral knowledge. "But the architects discovered something else before their destruction. The Devourer consciousness isn't just linked, it's dependent on the links for survival. Severe network disruption doesn't just confuse them, it causes individual units to shut down completely." Elena felt excitement building, a permanent solution rather than temporary confusion. "Theoretically," Marcus said, his voice strained from maintaining the neural link, "but it would require precise understanding of their quantum communication protocols and the ability to disrupt the network completely across multiple star systems simultaneously." Zira dove deeper into the genetic archive, accessing progressively more traumatic memories. The Vorthan attempted something similar. Her scream echoed through the chamber as she experienced the death of another consumed species. Marcus's features contorted with shared pain, but his voice remained steady. "Stay with me, Zira. Remember where you are. Remember who you are." "I'm accessing the Vorthan technical data," she managed through gritted teeth. "They built quantum resonance bombs, devices that could temporarily overload Devourer neural networks through cascade feedback loops." "How temporarily?" Elena asked. "Minutes. Long enough to disable individual ships, but not long enough to affect the entire collective." Zira's breathing became labored as she pushed deeper into traumatic archives. "But they discovered something crucial. The Devourer network has a central node, a prime consciousness that coordinates all others." Elena leaned closer to the interface controls, where, unknown, it moves constantly, transferring between different bodies and ships. But if that prime consciousness could be isolated and destroyed, Marcus completed the thought through their shared link. The entire network would collapse. Every Devourer unit in the galaxy would shut down simultaneously. "The Elitherary tried to find the prime consciousness," Zira continued, her voice now barely recognizable as the ancestral memories overwhelmed her individual personality. "They tracked it for cycles, believed they had located it, built a weapon specifically designed to destroy quantum-entangled consciousness networks." "What happened to them?" Elena asked, though she suspected the answer. "They succeeded," Zira said, her words barely audible. "For 13 minutes, the Devourer Collective was completely offline, every ship dead in space. But they had underestimated the network's redundancy systems. Secondary nodes reactivated the collective, and the Elithary weapon had exhausted its power source. Elena understood the full scope of the challenge. They would have exactly one chance to locate and destroy the Prime Consciousness, and if they failed, the Devourers would adapt their network to prevent similar attacks in the future. Marcus's voice cut through the chamber, strained but determined. Zira, can you access Elithari technical specifications for the Consciousness Killer weapon? Trying, she whispered, but Elena could see both of them reaching the limits of what human and Corvani minds could endure. Blood ran from Zira's nose, and Marcus's pupils were dilated with neural strain. That's enough, Elena commanded. Break the connection. No, Marcus said firmly. We're close. Give us 60 more seconds. Elena watched their vital signs approach critical levels, knowing she might lose both of them if the link continued, but also knowing this might be their only chance to gain the knowledge needed to save both species. The weapon specifications, Zira gasped suddenly. I have them. Quantum resonance cascade generator with consciousness pattern disruption matrix. Building requirements, impossible energy demands. Elithary technology centuries beyond anything we... Her voice faded as she collapsed, the neural link automatically severing as her consciousness retreated into protective unconsciousness. Marcus slumped forward, his eyes rolling back as the suddenly severed connection sent shock waves through his nervous system. Medical teams rushed into the chamber as Elena stood frozen, watching two of the people she cared about most, paying the price for knowledge that might save the galaxy. The vital signs monitor showed irregular but stable patterns as both Marcus and Zira fell into comatose sleep, their minds needing time to recover from experiences that no beings of their species were meant to survive. Dr. Kim emerged from the control booth, her face pale but excited. Your Majesty, the automatic recording systems captured everything. We have complete technical specifications for an anti-devourer consciousness weapon, plus detailed intelligence about their network structure and vulnerabilities. Elena looked down at Marcus and Zira, both unconscious but breathing steadily. They had sacrificed their immediate well-being to give humanity and the Corvani a fighting chance. Now it was her responsibility to ensure their sacrifice wasn't wasted. How long until they wake up? She asked. Unknown. They've experienced psychological trauma, equivalent to witnessing thousands of genocides firsthand. Recovery time could be days or weeks, assuming they recover at all. Elena felt the weight of command settling on her shoulders. In 18 days, the Devourers would arrive with technology and tactics refined over 3,000 years of galactic consumption. Humanity and the Corvani had one chance to build an impossible weapon using specifications designed by a dead civilization and powered by energy sources that might not even exist. But as she looked at Marcus and Zira, still holding hands even in unconsciousness, Elena realized they had given her something more valuable than technical data. They had proven that different species could trust each other completely, sacrifice for each other willingly, and create new possibilities through cooperation. That might be the real weapon humanity needed. The weapon might seem impossible to build, but cooperation between former enemies had already proven possible through simple acts of compassion. If they could extend that cooperation to encompass entire fleets and civilizations, perhaps the impossible could become inevitable. Elena turned to address the assembled technicians, scientists, and military leaders. We have 17 days to build something that has never been built before, using technologies we barely understand, powered by energy sources we're not sure we can generate. She paused, looking around the room at faces that reflected determination rather than despair. But 6 days ago, human-Corvani cooperation was impossible. 4 days ago, interspecies neural linking was impossible. 2 hours ago, accessing million-year-old genetic memories was impossible. Elena gestured toward Marcus and Zira. They've shown us that impossible is just another word for something we haven't figured out yet. Now let's get to work. The final hours before the Devourer arrival passed like a fever dream of impossible engineering and desperate preparation. Elena stood on the command deck of the hybrid vessel Unity, watching as the experimental consciousness killer weapon charged for its first and only shot. Around her, human and Corvani officers worked side by side at stations designed for 4 different species. their cooperation a testament to the trust built in the moments when Marcus first helped a fallen child. "Marcus, report," Elena commanded through the comm system. His voice came back steady, though she could hear the lingering effects of the memory link trauma and certain inflections. "Forward sensor arrays detect devourer approach formations at extreme range. They're moving in the adaptive patterns we expected, not the historical formations from Zira's genetic memories." Elena nodded. The knowledge gained from ancient archives had proven invaluable for understanding devourer weaknesses, but Marcus's prediction about tactical evolution had been correct. The enemy they faced was not the same one that had consumed the Elith array. "Zira, how are you holding up?" Elena asked. The young Corvani's voice carried newfound maturity, aged by experiencing the death memories of 13 civilizations. "The weapon targeting system is locked onto quantum resonance patterns consistent with devourer neural networks. But Your Majesty, I cannot identify which ship contains the prime consciousness." Elena felt her stomach clench. The consciousness killer weapon required precise targeting to destroy the central node that coordinated the Devourer collective. Miss the prime consciousness, and they would alert the enemy to their new capability without damaging their command structure. "Admiral Chen, status of the fleet? Human and Corvani vessels are integrated into combined formation patterns, conventional weapons charged and ready, but they'll only buy us time to use the consciousness killer if we miss our shot." Elena didn't need him to finish. If they missed, both civilizations would join the list of species consumed by an enemy that learned from every encounter. "Your Majesty," Zira's voice carried new urgency. "I'm detecting something unusual in the Devourer approach pattern. They're not advancing to optimal consumption positions." Elena studied the tactical displays as enemy formations shifted into configurations that made no tactical sense. Instead of surrounding human Corvani defensive positions, the Devourers were clustering into tight groups that actually made them more vulnerable to concentrated fire. "It's a trap," Marcus said quietly. "They know we have capabilities they haven't encountered before. They're trying to draw us into revealing our new weapon before we can target it effectively." One person died enough. Elena realized the full scope of their tactical problem. The Devourers had evolved beyond simple consumption patterns. They were now sophisticated enough to recognize that new enemies might possess unexpected capabilities, and they were probing for intelligence before committing to full assault. "Admiral, how long can our conventional forces hold defensive positions? Against historical Devourer tactics, perhaps an hour. Against adapted formations, maybe 30 minutes. Elena made her decision. "All ships, begin conventional engagement. Make him think we're fighting with standard weapons and tactics." "Your Majesty," the Corvani Elder Ambassador's voice came through from the command ship's sacred archive. "You risk our fleets for deception that may not succeed." "We risk everything if we reveal the consciousness killer too early," Elena replied. "We need them to commit their prime consciousness to the battle before we fire." The space around the binary star system erupted in plasma fire as human and Corvani vessels engaged the outer Devourer formations. Elena watched her forces take devastating losses while the enemy probed their capabilities, searching for signs of unexpected technology. "Contact," Marcus reported from the sensor station. Massive energy signature appearing at the center of the Devourer formation. Configuration suggests a command vessel of unprecedented size. Elena's fingers tightened on the command console. The prime consciousness? Unknown. But the quantum resonance patterns match theoretical projections for a central coordinating node. Zira's voice cut through the combat chatter, her youth made ancient by genetic memories of species death. "Your Majesty, if we fire at that target and miss the true prime consciousness, we'll alert them to our capability and lose our only chance." Elena watched the tactical display as her forces fought desperately against an enemy that was still holding back its full capabilities. Every second of delay cost lives, but firing too early could doom both civilizations. "Marcus, analysis of the large vessel's command patterns. It's issuing coordination signals to all Devourer units in the system. Tactical movement, target prioritization, resource allocation, everything is flowing through that ship." Elena studied the energy readings from the massive vessel, comparing them to the theoretical profile Zira had extracted from Elitherite technical memories. The quantum signatures matched, but doubt gnawed at her certainty. Zira, dive into the genetic archives one more time. Give me absolute confirmation that vessel contains the prime consciousness. Your Majesty, another deep memory access so soon after the previous session could cause permanent neural damage. Elena looked at the young alien who had already sacrificed so much for two species she had barely known existed weeks ago. I won't order you to take that risk, but you need the information to make the right decision, Zira said quietly. And both our peoples need you to make the right decision. Elena watched Zira close her eyes and dive into traumatic memories that had already nearly broken her mind. Around them, the battle raged as human and Corvani forces bought time with their lives. The Vorthan memory fragments, Zira gasped, her voice strained with neural overload. They tracked the prime consciousness for cycles before their final attempt. It moves between vessels constantly, but during active consumption operations, it stabilizes in the largest available ship to coordinate the feeding process. That's it, Marcus said, his eyes bright with certainty. During battle, it has to maintain stable communication with all units. It can't keep jumping between ships. Elena felt the moment of decision crystallizing. All ships, concentrate fire on the command vessel. Draw their attention away from the Unity. Her fleet responded immediately, focusing conventional weapons on the massive Devourer ship, while Elena's vessel moved into optimal firing position for the Consciousness Killer. Weapon charged and ready, reported Chief Engineer Kim from the Experimental Systems Station. Single-shot capability. If we miss, we won't get another chance. Elena studied the targeting solution one final time. Every calculation suggested the massive vessel contained the prime consciousness. Every instinct screamed that this was their moment, but the doubt remained. What if they were wrong? Your Majesty. Zira's voice was barely audible, weakened by the repeated trauma of accessing species death memories. In all the archives, across millions of years and dozens of consumed civilizations, no species has ever had a second chance against the Devourers. Those who hesitated, died. Those who struck boldly sometimes died too. But hesitation always failed. Elena looked at Marcus, who nodded slightly. She thought of the moment when he had chosen to help a fallen alien child instead of following protocol, and how that choice had set in motion everything that followed. Sometimes the right choice was the one that felt impossible. Target locked, Elena announced. All stations, prepare for consciousness killer deployment. The experimental weapon hummed with power that made reality itself seem to vibrate. Elena thought of every species that had fallen to the Devourers, every civilization consumed by hunger that could never be satisfied. She thought of Marcus kneeling beside Zira, choosing compassion over caution. Fire. The consciousness killer fired its single shot across space, a pulse of energy that existed partially outside normal physics. Elena watched the pulse streak toward the massive Devourer command vessel, carrying with it the hopes of two species and the desperate gamble that impossible weapons could accomplish what conventional force could not. The pulse struck the command vessel and spread across its hull like liquid lightning. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, as Elena watched in breathless silence, every Devourer ship in the system went dark simultaneously. The sudden silence was deafening. Where moments before space had blazed with weapons fire and the energy signatures of alien technology, now only drifting hulks remained. The entire Devourer fleet hung motionless, their consciousness network severed by the destruction of the Prime Node. Full sensor sweep, Elena commanded, hardly daring to believe what she was seeing. All Devourer vessels show complete power failure, Marcus reported, his voice filled with wonder. No life signs, no energy signatures. There, empty. Elena felt tears running down her cheeks as the reality settled over her. They had done something no civilization in galactic history had ever accomplished. They had not just survived the Devourers, they had destroyed them completely. Your Majesty, Admiral Chen's voice came through ship-wide communications. This is Admiral Chen to all fleet units. The Devourer threat has been eliminated. Repeat, the Devourer collective has been completely neutralized. Cheers erupted throughout the command center, but Elena found herself looking at Zira, who sat quietly in her chair, tears streaming down her face. What's wrong? Elena asked gently. The genetic archives, Zira whispered. I can feel them updating. For the first time in millions of years, the memories are recording victory instead of defeat. Future generations of Kurvani will know that the Devourers can be beaten. Marcus moved to Zira's side, offering the same quiet support he had provided when she first collapsed days ago. They'll also know that humans and Kurvani can accomplish together what neither could manage alone. Elena realized the full scope of what they had achieved. They had not just saved their own civilizations, they had created a new model for interspecies cooperation that would echo through Kurvani genetic memory for millions of years to come. "Elder Ambassador," Elena called to the Kurvani command ship, "what are your people's intentions now that the immediate threat has passed?" "Your Majesty," came the formal reply. "The genetic archives are clear. Humanity has proven itself to be a species of both warrior strength and protector compassion. The Kurvani formally request permanent alliance between our peoples." Elena looked around the command center at human and Kurvani officers who had learned to trust each other completely in the space of a few weeks. She thought of Marcus choosing to help a fallen child rather than follow protocol, and how that single act of kindness had saved 2 civilizations. "Alliance accepted," Elena said finally. "And may it last as long as the memory of what we accomplished together." As the combined fleets began recovery operations, Elena realized that Marcus had been right from the beginning. Sometimes the most powerful weapon was not advanced technology or superior tactics, but the simple choice to help someone who needed it. The Devourers had fallen not to superior force, but to the cooperation made possible by compassion. That was a lesson that would echo through galactic history, carried forward by Zira's genetic memories and recorded in humanity's chronicles. Elena watched Marcus and Zira working together to coordinate recovery efforts, their bond forged in crisis now strengthened by shared victory. The future would bring new challenges, but it would face them with the knowledge that impossible things became possible when different peoples chose trust over fear. In the end, that might be the most important victory of all.